How everyone? So I think it's still like having lunch, so that I would expect. But I'm the first speaker here, so that if you are still hungry, so that please stay here for some minutes to wait for my presentation. So I think it's really my pleasure to be here and be the first speaker after lunchtime. So I would like to explain a little bit more about our project. I'm the founder and chairman of iHouse.com, and we have issued a token called iHouse Token, IHT, in Q1 this year. And we have already launched in several exchange, crypto exchange, and that we expect the real estate and blockchain projects will be very hot this year, and that's why I'm here to have a short presentation to you to introduce more about our project. So before going into the details in the blockchain industry, let's talk more about real estate tech. So I think real estate tech technology is a very hot industry in US because we have already several very hot projects in the past. For example, like Airbnb or WeWork. Yeah, so that we are sharing the space that for the household, and we are also sharing the co-working space. Yeah, working space to each other, and then we can co-work together through WeWork. So that we expect the real estate tech industry will be have a big revolution with the help of blockchain, because blockchain is helping us to share the access to each other, so that with the blockchain technology's help, we can apply the transparency, the liquidity, and also the for example, the sharing the access to each other. So I think it's a very amazing that we found that blockchain technology can help in the real estate market last year. That's why we have a 3-month study on the blockchain technology, and then we applied this technology to real estate market. So let me introduce to you a new format of fundraising we call access tokenization offering. Which we should be the first company to introduce this ATO, access tokenization offering model, to the market. So that I think I'm very excited to introduce this model to you, because it's quite different from the traditional fundraising or even the ICO market. Okay, so let's talk about the economics of access tokenization usage. So I think many people here will have investment in real estate markets, so that actually the real estate market right now is have the market size of over 200 trillion US dollar. Yeah, so it's such a big market there. And then if we just talk about the liquidity of the premium market, I think it's up to 5.4 trillion of this market. And so it's 10 times bigger than the market cap of all cryptocurrency right now. And so that's why from this year, especially second half, we will expect access tokenization, or for example, many security token or access-backed token will be coming out in the second half, because we all expect there's some regulation, there's some something related to the real estate market or asset management will be done by using the blockchain. So the total global wealth has now reached 280 trillion. That is 27% higher than 10 years before. And then it's a very high value base here. And the commercial property accounts for roughly a 54 trillion market here. So we basically focus on the commercial real estate, including hotel, commercial real estate buildings, for example, co-working space or office, and also hostel Airbnb, can put in Airbnb, or say the apartments. So that there's a lot of usage here. Okay, so why we use blockchain in this market is, in this project is, we actually found that the crypto graphically secure transactions and distributed ledger technology and smart contract are highly applicable to the asset management and real estate investment. So that's why we are penetrating in this area. So we are trying to do the, well, with the usage of the blockchain technology, we can help to access tokenize. Access tokenization offering here can reduce the information leakage and also decrease the friction to trade, improve the liquidity of the real estate investment, and provide the transparency of all the transaction flow in the trading. So that with all such kind of help, we think that the blockchain technology can help a lot on the new way of real estate investment. So what's the problems and challenges here? So first of all, is the because we are all new to this market, so that we need trusted issuers. That's why we spend lots of time to talk about with different financial institutions and both licensed or like the non-licensed financial institutions. We talk to all of them to get the trust of them and then to get them to understand our business model. So also is the regulations, because the regulation here is still not clear, so that we need to spend many time to talk to the regulator regarding the regulation here. Also, it's like the third one is like the legal and enforceability of the property rights, because we are not trying to tokenize the property rights here. We are just like tokenizing the utility right in this real estate. Yeah, so that's it's a quite different idea from the traditional property transaction. Also, the digital identity and KYC, AML. So this very common topic that we talk on the blockchain and crypto investment. And also some technical infrastructure. We have already completed the first phase of the development that we can allow the smart contract to be issued very easily in our platform. But we are building, go to another phase, like we are trying to enable more real estate assets to come to our platform to issue their tokens. Yeah, so that's the next phase of technology we will build on. Also, is the assets valuation and the rating. Yeah, so there's lots of issues, problems to be solved here. But we definitely can solve some pain points in this market, because I think solving the pain point is the key in this in the property industry. Yeah, so that it increased the liquidity. I think if any people here have investment in real estate market, the liquidity is always the most difficult job to be improved. So that I think the blockchain investment can really help on the liquidity improvement. And the diversification of risk management, yeah, so that you can like invest into different projects by a small part of money, yeah, so that you can diversify your portfolio. And enumerate the barrier here, so that we are trying to set up a more lower entry barrier in the investment. And we also enable new models of fundraising capital under development, and build the public attention with lots of owners and investors. That's why we do a lot of marketing, we attend a lot of events, and then to see how to get in touch with more industry players. We welcome for more players in this market to help to work on this together. Yeah. So the reduced administrative costs, because I think any decentralized platform is a reduction of the agents in between. So in the real estate market, you know, there's many agents in between, so that we are trying to reduce the third party and also the administrative costs here. So we offer also the security advantage, because there's less paper and then all are on blockchain smart contract that improve a lot on the security here. So I think there's already many asset-backed user case in the market. For example, like USDT. So many people are already using them as the as a hedge tokens here. So that a lot of the real estate, I mean the projects is related to the token economy. It's already asset-backed, and definitely we are now trying to help on the utility rights on the real estate projects, but it's still related to the assets itself. So in the second half, we will work with some company that has the security token license, so that we can issue more choice for the asset owner. So in the real estate blockchain project, we definitely have some friends that they are also doing the property real estate projects, including Puppy, Decons, and Inkrpyt. Yeah, so that they are also launching their real estate protocol. Yeah, so that I think is we are very happy to see more projects in this area. It means that this area is hot, and many people are getting attention to this area. So let me introduce a little bit on our product. So iHouse.com is a platform that we have 3 products right now. We have iHouse ATO, which is the world's first real estate usage rights tokenization platform. We have IHT as the cryptocurrency of the parent company iHouse.com. And we also have our payment gateway here, which is a payment method of the iHouse.com. So iHouse ATO is we tokenize and split the real estate investment using smart contract by tokenizing their utility rights. For example, just say a hotel room, you can tokenize and issue the membership to others by token before it opens it runs into operation. So that we make use of blockchain, smart contract, and make reference to the traditional real estate investment product like REIT. So if we compare the ATO with the ICO, this is a comparatively low-risk product. The return is more stable, and the entry barrier is higher because you need to have the assets itself first. And you also need, we will also provide the investment management that to enable our investors to invest in a more safety way. Okay, so we have already launched several projects in our platform. The first one is in Japan, Career, which is a timeshare resort user case, so that we try to tokenize the future usage of this resort, and we help them to raise $8 million through the full tokenization offering of their utility rights in the future. So we are running into the contract stage with some investors, and so that this will be our first user case that completes in the next couple of weeks. So they are raising through the utility tokens by their future retail price. The per light is $400 US, but they now pre-sale at a 40% discount off, which is $240 US, and so that they raise $8 billion US by issuing 33,000 tokens. Okay, so that's the Career project, and we also have the second project that already launched in our platform, which is a Philippines project. That this project is in Palawan Island, which is a very popular the traffic spot in Philippines right now. So that's we help them to raise 3.1 million through the ATO fundraising model. So you can see it's like a 34% discount off with the retail price. So that we are helping different resorts to raise money right now, and we will expand to more asset class in the future, because we will have a commercial building, we will have like hostels, we will have apartments in the future. So that we are trying more to get more asset class can make use of the ATO through our platform. So if you would like to have more understanding with our iHouse.com, you can go directly to iHouse.com, or we have a Telegram that is IHTCon, t.me/IHTCon, and also our YouTube and Twitter. Okay, so thanks a lot. Yeah, thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Christiana Cacciapori, and I am VP of Partnerships for Mad Network, which is a company building a new protocol for advertising that puts consumer privacy front and center. And then separately, I run an organization called Ad Ledger, which is a nonprofit consortium of some of the biggest names in media that is working on rules and standards for how blockchain should be applied to media. And today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about advertising, which I know can sound a little bit trivial, but I think hopefully at this point most consumers know that advertising actually funded and created the web that we know and interact with today. So, there we go. So we're all consumers. We all interact with the internet every day. We have supercomputers in our pocket. But if I asked you guys, as consumers, how do ads reach you online, would you be able to tell me that? Anybody? Would you be able to trace the supply chain? OK, no takers. Cool. How about the number of companies? How many companies do you think it takes to place an ad? Anybody think they would know that? 6? Way more, but close. So, OK, so long ago in a galaxy far, far away in 1994, the answer to that original question of how many ads does it take, or how many companies, rather, does it take to place an ad was 2. So the very first ad that was ever placed online was placed in 1994 by AT&T on Wired.com. And so for that to happen, for that transaction to be facilitated, all that needed to happen was Wired called up AT&T and said, hey, I have an ad slot. Do you want to buy? And AT&T said yes. And together they would work out kind of the parameters of that deal. So how much money do they want to spend? How long should that ad be placed on Wired? What should the ad look like? And so that system worked really well. It worked very similarly to the way radio ads were placed, or magazine ads were placed, or even TV ads. So worked really well for a while until publishers, or the Wired.coms of the world, realized that they weren't selling out 100% of their inventory. They had some left over at the end of the month. So companies called ad networks evolved around 1998. And so what they did was they went to a bunch of different publishers and said, hey, I know you're not selling out, so instead of getting no money for that remnant inventory, sell it to me for half price. It's better than nothing. So they would go to a bunch of different premium news sites, let's say ABC and NBC and CNN, and they would aggregate all of that inventory into what they called a premium news package. And then they would turn around and sell it to advertisers like AT&T at a discount, and would say, hey, I'm not going to tell you exactly what's in this premium news package, but just trust me, it's great inventory, you're going to love it, and I'm going to even sell it to you for a discount. So in this scenario, everybody's really winning. The publisher is getting that, let's say, $5 instead of the $10 maybe that they would have gotten directly in that direct transaction, but they're getting something where they would have gotten nothing. The advertiser is getting a discount, and then the ad network is making the margin. So again, worked really well for a while. But after a little bit of time passes, ad networks started to get greedy. And instead of filling those premium news packages with premium news sites, they filled it with lower quality inventory to fatten their margins. So that went on for a little bit of time too. But after a while, advertisers caught on. And they said, no more of this. I don't want my content or my ads appearing alongside content that is not truly premium. So instead of turning to ad networks, I want to automate all of this. I want the same scale and reach that I got with that ad network model, but I want more transparency. And so programmatic advertising evolved. And so today, the answer to my very first question at the beginning is going to go something like this, what I'm about to walk you through. So today, the way the supply chain works is that an advertiser works with their agency, and they say, I want to place an ad on some collection of sites to reach consumers. So instead of turning to ad networks, they turn to software. So the ad agency and the brand turn to software called a DSP, or a demand-side platform. And that's really just software that they use to organize their buy. They say, this is how much money I want to spend on my campaign. This is what my creative looks like. This is the type of content I want my ad to appear alongside. And then on the flip side, the publisher does the same thing with software called an SSP, or supply-side platform. And so the publisher goes in and says, here's how many ad slots I have available. Here's how much I want to get paid for those ads. Here's what my content looks like, yada, yada, yada. Then those systems talk to systems called exchanges. And those exchanges are generally just matching engines. And then because now we live in a very data-driven world and everything we do online is dropping little breadcrumbs of data about who we are, we need DMPs, or data management platforms. And DMPs help the rest of the companies inside of this system facilitate the best matches for the advertiser. So theoretically, they're helping the advertiser to find the best match, the best human that is most likely to buy whatever they're selling. And then, to actually physically move that ad, that either video file or image file, we need ad servers that pick up that file and drop it to the next person along the chain. And then because everybody along this chain, everybody that you see, the little boxes that have a star, each of those systems have their own reporting. So all of them can say that an ad happened at a different time. So for example, one SSP can say that an ad happened as soon as the page loaded. Another ad or another player inside of the system could say that an ad never happened until the user pressed play. So right there, we have a really easy discrepancy. So we needed new companies called third-party verification partners to come in and essentially be refs and referee this mess. So obviously, this is a little bit of a cluster. This is kind of what we have to put up with inside of advertising today. And there are a ton of problems that kind of stem from this long and convoluted and opaque of a supply chain. And so we have a few of them underneath the graphic there, the first one being fraud. So when something is, again, so long and convoluted and messy, it's really easy for smart fraudsters to attack all of these different points of failure. Another one is discrepancies, which I touched on a little bit, but essentially, when each of these systems have their own numbers, their own accounting, it's really easy for this to become a little bit of a nightmare. So the governing body of ad tech actually says the standard is that a 10% discrepancy between a publisher says that they showed to consumers and an advertiser says they want to pay for is okay. And 10% on billions of dollars, of course, is also a little nuts. Another issue we have is conflicts of interest. So if more than one company serves more than one, or one company serves more than one function, rather, we really easily get to these conflicts of interest inside of the system. And then finally, last but not least, we have the user, who when you are trying to load the page and the spinning wheel of death keeps happening and happening and happening, that's probably our fault inside of ad tech. There's all kinds of technical debt. All of these different pings contribute to technical debt that increases latency inside of pages. And finally, this whole system is pretty creepy. If ad tech was a person, you would probably call the police. We're chasing you around, we're following you from device to device across different places that you go with products that you probably don't need, and all of it is just generally really annoying. So we have all of those problems that happen when it's a really long and fragmented supply chain. What if just one company performs all of those functions? You would think it would be better, but it's not. So we have some issues when just one company controls the whole supply chain, and we have some of them listed here. The first one being the fact that they're black boxes, or in ad tech, what we say is they are walled gardens, meaning that if Facebook says that you as an advertiser sold or showed 1 million ads, you have to pay for 1 million ads. You have no third-party auditing privileges, really. And if you think Facebook always tells the truth, that's cute. But they are pretty famous for lying in their marketing materials, one of the most famous examples being that they once put in their marketing materials that they could reach more users inside of a given segment, a different segment of the population than the US Census says there are humans. So that's probably not true. Another one is regulatory compliance issues. So if you're a huge American company and a foreign government knows that you have more data about their citizens than they do, it probably makes them feel uncomfortable. And the EU actually was so uncomfortable with the amount of data that Facebook and Google and Amazon have that they passed a law called the GDPR, or the General Data Protection Regulation, that just went into effect this past May and is designed to give consumers back authority over their own data and is, a not so subtle jab at some of these guys. And then finally, again, is the poor user, where we as consumers online really have no idea how these guys are using their data and potentially exploiting it and monetizing it and even weaponizing it without our knowledge or consent. So as an industry, we're kind of driving toward this question where we have a confluence of regulatory demands, we have consumer demand, kind of meeting to demand that we kind of clean up our act and figure out a better way to do this, to fund the internet the way that ads were kind of built to do. So what does this mean for us as an industry? What is our future as an industry if we are at odds with our own customers? But a lot of people are saying that blockchain will fix it. Blockchain will take us to the moon. It will be the silver bullet. It will cure cancer, all that stuff. But unfortunately, that's not the case either. What a lot of people in the space are doing are saying, let's just write all of our transactional data, that whole big long supply chain, let's just write it to a blockchain. But that's not really a fix, because if we wanted to just write all of that transactional data to the same shared location, we could have done that already. We didn't need a blockchain for that. So the problem that we have inside of ad tech is less of a kind of technology problem and more of an incentives problem. So when we at MAD, we're thinking more about what is blockchain, what should we use it for, kind of what is the point of adding it to the existing advertising ecosystem. These were really kind of the pros and cons that we were weighing. So obviously, blockchains are much more expensive than a traditional database. So that was a little bit of a con for us. They're super slow, and that's something that we harp on a lot in advertising, because ad tech supports billions and billions of queries per second or transactions per second flying across that ecosystem. So that wouldn't be a great fix either. And I know it's blasphemy for this blockchain-y crowd, but the cryptographic primitives that Satoshi combined to create the Bitcoin white paper have been around for a while. They weren't even super innovative. But what is innovative and what is exciting about blockchain is precisely what we need in ad tech, which is a new system to create new incentives to act ethically inside of a network. So a great example of issues with incentives inside of ad tech is the prisoner's dilemma. Does anybody remember this from like intro econ? Awesome. So essentially, the prisoner's dilemma boils down to getting punished for being honest. And a great example of that inside of ad tech is DMPs, or data management platforms. So those guys are really incentivized to create a very large data set, but not a data set that is necessarily very accurate. So for example, if you know New Yorkers, you know that there's very little that we loathe more than driving. It's just not our thing. And so if I am a very honest DMP and I see 100 New Yorkers, I can say, none of these guys want to buy a car. I know this. And Ford will say, well, thank you very much for that information, but I'm not going to do business with you because you don't have the people that I want to reach. And so they go to my competitor DMP, and they say, hey, are those 100 people that I should be talking to? And the not-so-honest DMP can say, sure, definitely. Give me all your business, and I'll make sure the right people see it. So already, that's just one kind of mini microcosm of an example, but you can already kind of see how inside of this ecosystem, the honest guys start to get pushed out by the competition. So if blockchains alone can't fix it, and we still have this incentive problem, we really started to scratch our heads. What will solve this? And so what we came up with is privacy. We believe that privacy is a human right, it's the foundation of free societies, but it also works better for everybody inside of the advertising ecosystem. So if consumers know, cryptographically can prove that their data will be safe inside of a system, they're much more likely to be candid with their data. You probably don't censor what you're Google searching on your phone, and you don't even know where that data is going. So what if you did know that that data was safe? You would be much more candid with whatever the system was you were interacting with. And for advertisers, if consumers are being much more candid, much more honest, they're going to have a much higher fidelity data set, much more accurate data set, and that's going to drive better outcomes for them. And then for publishers like Wired, they're going to be able to go back to focusing on not being data scientists and trying to figure out ways to monetize their data. They're going to get to focus on investing in really great content, which is their bread and butter. So when we start to build in privacy from the ground up inside of these systems, it gets really easy to build these really cool new worlds. So with blockchain, and again, I know this is blasphemy, but that Bitcoin burger on the left that Satoshi built when he built Bitcoin was really easy to move money around. That was what it was designed to do. But we need more than moving money around inside of ad tech. We need things like zero-knowledge proofs to be able to collaborate on a piece of information and verify that that information is true without revealing what that piece of information is. We need things like traceable ring signatures to be able to identify and expose bad actors inside the space who want to expose identities of people here. So even with all of that great technology, we can't do it in a bubble, especially in an industry as mature and large as advertising is, which is why we created AdLedger, along with Tegna and IBM and a few other companies. So AdLedger is the consortium that is ushering in these standards and building this brave new world. And with that, my time is up. So I will be out at the MAD booth if anybody wants to say hi or has any questions, and hope to chat with you soon.
Welcome to Moonlighting, where we're democratizing the gig economy and the way we freelance and we work. It's really been an amazing ride. We are a company that's been around for about 3.5 years now, and we are really focused in on one single thing, is how do we help you make money for yourself, empowering you to work for the business of you. And we've really focused a lot, not only on the gig economy and freelancing, but we've looked at ways for people to be able to hire on demand and take advantage of being able to use your mobile phone at any given time to be able to either work or to hire someone immediately. We're one of the fastest growing, and I'll talk to that in a moment. In the last 18 months, we have grown from 100,000 users to 650,000 users. We're a top 10 app in the App Store under the jobs category and helping people along with your Indeeds, your LinkedIns, some of your larger companies out there that are focused in on employment. And we've raised a little over $6 million, and so we're kind of past that point of being a startup and really starting to scale. What's interesting, too, is we were approached by the 3 largest newspaper companies in the United States over the last few years, publishers of the LA Times, the Chicago Tribune, the USA Today, the Miami Herald. They all are looking for a way to resurrect their classified business, and we really presented a unique opportunity with a mobile and a platform that can bring 2 parties together very quickly. As I mentioned to you before, we've seen, one thing we've hit on the chord of and really, made it a point to make sure that people feel really a part of the community of Moonlighting is that we really understand what people want to do on a daily basis, the kind of job that they want. We have every type of job that we joke, from a fire juggler, stilt walker, all the way up to accountants, attorneys, consultants, a wide variety. We kept the platform open, and we did so while kind of fighting against a lot of venture and guidance and saying, hey, you need to be the Uber of this, you need to be Uber of that. We were called the Uber of everything by the Washington Business Journal. We like to consider ourselves the Swiss Army knife of the gig economy. The funny one that we talked about earlier was people have called us Craigslist without the creepiness, and that always gets a good chuckle there too. So we're doing something we think is not only important for employment and for people who are looking for income, but it's really an opportunity for us to really shine in the gig economy. When you start a company like Moonlighting, and I've been a part of several in the past, where you really have to pick, kind of the big bully on the block. So if you look at this slide here, there's all sorts of the Airbnb owns the travel space, Uber, the ride share, Google search. So if you notice where I conveniently put Moonlighting in there is that you could easily put LinkedIn there. And so LinkedIn, great company. I think we're all very familiar with using it. We felt, my partners and I, while we were Moonlighting building the company, we really liked the idea of not just connecting with people on LinkedIn, but actually transacting and hiring and taking an opportunity maybe to break this kind of, I'll say the stereotype that moonlighting is a bad thing, which is really not. It gives people a chance, and I bet you many people in the room here probably have more than one job or involved in a different project. Maybe this blockchain project is something that's on the side from your day job, and that's really what Moonlighting is all about. Freelancing has grown astronomically over the last few years. It's just in the US alone. You've seen it'll represent 40% of the workforce will be doing some form of freelancing. And really the numbers start to add up. You start thinking about the disruptive marketplaces and industries. Well, the freelance industries exceeded $1 trillion just in the growth from 2016 to 2017, and that's growing very rapidly. I'll talk in a little bit about the demographics of the people that are using our platform so that you understand really where this growth is coming from. The other big economic, people that don't talk about, you like to see, hey, U.S. job report was great, and we had low unemployment, great. It doesn't matter what part of the side of the political aisle you are. There's still a huge shortfall when it comes to jobs versus population growth. And this is what this chart shows here, is that there's a 35 million gap just in the US alone, not even talking about internationally, and being able to fill that gap. And again, that's what we're trying to attempt to do with Moonlighting. The other big kind of news flash is, and I'm old enough, you can see I'm a father of 5, just turned 50, but there's a huge gap in earnings versus the cost of living, the cost of food, fuel, housing, education, And I've got quite a few education bills with 5 kids. Let me tell you something, what it was 20 years ago, that wage stagnation is again another reason why people need to freelance, why they're choosing to freelance, for savings, for thinking about those future, even for retirement. You know, I'm going to go through the 4 food groups or the 4 main groups that use Moonlighting today out of that 650,000 users. First and foremost, it's the millennial. Number 1, clearly graduating from school, getting out into the workforce, much more equipped than I know I was when I came out of college, with being able to multitask and then leverage technology in order to, you know, be much more entrepreneurial. They're starting their own businesses. Even if they go take a W-2 job, they're starting their own businesses right out of the gate. It's just very impressive. And then you got your baby boomers, right? This is the one that I didn't see coming, candidly. We were going to build Moonlighting to be mobile only. We were going to just be like Uber, no website. And we got a lot of complaints from people who said, screen too small. I want to be a part of the gig economy. And so we quickly, we pivoted quickly and created a website version of our mobile app so that we can include the baby boomer generation. They need to supplement their income, and they're not really ready to hang up the gloves and stop working. This is the parents, we call this the mobilized mother, moms. Mobile optimized mother is the fancy marketing name that we give this group. But it's moms who want to have a work-life balance, that want to be able to kind of work from home or work from the basement or work from the coffee shop and still have that work-life balance. A very, very hot and fast-growing group within Moonlighting. And then the final group is me. This is why I started the company, you know, 4 years ago. I actually thought of the idea in 2008 because my wife was pregnant with our 5th child. I thought I was going to get laid off from a big corporation. Thank God I didn't, but I was like, you know, if I ever get another shot and I start my own company, I'm going to build something that I could use and I can find work. And I represent the Gen X kind of corporate employees that could get squeezed, and many of you have probably experienced friends and family that have been there. You know, mobile technology plays such a huge role. You always hear about Uber, Lyft, right, and some of the other kind of, I'll say, early stage. But a lot of these marketplaces in the early iterations of the gig economy are very curated and they're very centralized. They're very controlling. They take large pieces of your paycheck. They tell you how much you can make, when, and such. So it's great, but 73% of the freelancers need mobile technology in order to activate their own kind of business. This slide talks a little bit about just the change of how people are finding work more online. So it's, you know, a bit dated here from 2014 through 2016. But you could see the shift in people finding projects online versus offline, which is, you know, word of mouth and such like the old days. And you're seeing that seismic shift with people using more online. And this is the kicker, and this I think goes back to a lot of the millennial generations that I have in my house, is that there's a lot of people that just are very, very impatient. They want a job now. They want their movies now. They want all sorts of things now. They also want their work now. You know, problems that we've seen because we've heard a lot of, you know, what people need when you have 650,000 people talking to you on a daily basis. We need to listen. One thing is the gig economy is fraught with trust, right? And this is kind of leading into my blockchain part of the story. There's a huge lack of trust. It's why you might not hire someone, and a lot of times you don't know who you're getting because maybe a company like an Uber or TaskRabbit actually select that person for you. You know, the second is it's expensive. If you freelanced or used any of these, a lot of these marketplaces take 20, 30% of your paycheck. That's before taxes. And they wonder why sometimes people don't want to pay their taxes when they're freelancing and they're moonlighting. The other piece, too, is fragmentation. Moonlighting is just one of many companies that are addressing this space, but there is a ton of companies that are typically broken down because maybe they never get out of San Francisco or they don't ever get out of New York, they don't get enough funding, and it's really difficult for them to reach any kind of scale. Or I live in Charlottesville, Virginia. That's where I started the company, home to Thomas Jefferson and UVA. And I'm telling you right now that there are a lot of jobs that are a lot of these marketplaces will never get there and never will think about coming to a smaller town. So what we decided about a year ago is like, how can, you know, with all the ICO craziness and cryptocurrency, we looked at blockchain first and how blockchain could address some of the problems I just mentioned to you. So first and foremost, we are taking these 650,000 profiles and we're going to move them onto the blockchain and move that content over, including things like certifying and verifying and the background checks and really things like your education, whether you really have a license to do what you say you're doing, right? That's very important to authenticate, and that's what really will help the gig economy along. Secondly is we are looking at cryptocurrency and creating our own currency as well so that we can eliminate those 20 and 30% that gets taken out of a marketplace that comes out of your paycheck for freelancing. We don't think it's fair. It's just fundamentally something that we think is an opportunity to disrupt with blockchain, remove middleman, and let two peer-to-peer parties work with one another. Also, we're expanding internationally, and we look at it too. It's important when people do business overseas, where they're not paying all those bank fees and those foreign exchange fees. And lastly, I go back to the fragmentation. We're not going to own the profile anymore. The profile will be owned by you, the freelancers, by our users. We love that concept. We love the idea of empowering our users to take the profile in our tool set and take it wherever they want, no different than using like Facebook Connect or LinkedIn, single sign-on, so you can go and operate within all of these fragmented gig economy marketplaces that you really need to be a part of many of them because a lot of them are demand constrained. So the big picture for us is one that Moonlighting is really, we want to be the LinkedIn in the blockchain world, the one that really is more ubiquitous, more inclusive, but yet allows and empowers you to take your profile, this rich profile data that is yours, you monetize it, you share it where you want to share it, and you're empowered. So we looked at kind of this, I'll say, Venn diagram that somehow became 5 different buckets, but we are one of the leading marketplaces in the gig economy, akin to your Fivers, your Upworks, your Thumbtacks. We also are very involved in local advertising. We have a hyper-local footprint that expands to over 300 local newspaper cities throughout the United States, about to go to the UK and Canada here in the next couple weeks. Very excited about that. If you use Moonlighting, and I encourage you to download it, it's free to download. We have a very simple model. If you want to market yourself extra, it's $10 a month, very affordable. We love the idea of really creating something that LinkedIn has really never done. LinkedIn has really just made, in a lot of cases, a lot of spam, a lot of connections that are happening that are really not authentic. And we love the idea of empowering you to start working for yourself. Because if you're kidding yourself, if you don't work for a large corporation, things are good right now, right? But corporations are always, especially publicly traded ones, are always looking to make quarterly earnings. And the way they do it, and I've been there, is they do it through headcount because it's the most expensive part. And so I do encourage, not as a doomsday, as a way to diversify and leverage, and that you should all be working for yourself. We have a mobile commerce play. My 2 co-founders come out of Capital One, so we've got a really cool peer-to-peer payments capability, something that we always felt LinkedIn would be really cool if you could make payments and actually hire somebody fractionally, right? Fractionally, distributed, taking a piece of your day and maybe paying for it. And then last but not least, we're talking with all the key players about and figuring out, is it my coin that's going to be one of them, or is it supporting some of the other cryptocurrency, right? Some of that's really hazy right now in the United States, but we're working with some of the top counsel, and we're proud to say, like, we're going to be one of the good ones, one of the really great blockchain winners early because of the foundation we've built and really giving everybody a chance to participate in a platform that isn't so fragmented and different for all parties. So that kind of wraps up my piece of the presentation. I really appreciate it. I hope you'll check out Moonlighting, and thanks for giving me an opportunity to talk to you today.
So, hello everyone. I'm Ali. I'm a data scientist, and I'm the system architect for Inkrpyt.
Hi guys, my name is Farhan, and I'm the lead of corporate development for Inkrpyt. Inkrpyt is a Harvard-based venture that is focused around a very simple but powerful principle, which is that access to authentic and resilient information is the bedrock for any free society. And as a result, the problem that we want to address is the fact that governments around the world today are able to use the centralized architecture of the internet to manipulate the flow of information. And this is a huge problem because, in fact, as of right now, over 2/3 of the world's population lives under regimes of governmental censorship, and this is something that we're trying to address. The way we address this is through a distributed content hosting platform that is a system of nodes, a global network of storage and distribution nodes with anonymized connection between this network and publishers to ensure that malicious actors are not able to locate these storage nodes and subvert them. Furthermore, all of the information on the network is timestamped on a blockchain ledger to ensure immutability. So, for a little bit of a graphical depiction, as we can see here, this is a traditional environment where a malicious node is very easily able to curtail the flow of information by taking advantage of the single point of failure. And this happens all around the world in many, many countries. However, in a decentralized environment, what we see here is that because of redundancies in storage as well as redundancies in the channels of distribution, it is very, very difficult, virtually impossible, for malicious actors to curtail the flow of information within a decentralized network.
So from that, the main value proposition of Inkrpyt is based on some simple principle. One is front-end security and privacy for not just the publishers, but also the consumers of content. The second is back-end security and data resilience that is achieved through a decentralized storage infrastructure. And then on top of that, there is the creation of a marketplace in which any man, any common man, can give up access resources to the network and get compensated for that. So any one of you can put their storage up for rent and be compensated for hosting content. And finally, there are the socio-political ramifications of a freer, more informed society. So when we look at the Inkrpyt system architecture, we see that if you want to publish something, all the information is routed through anonymity channels, for example, I2P, Tor, or MeshNet. And we have all three of these built in so that there are redundancies and the data actually reaches the distributed network. And once it reaches there, it's distributed onto the network, and it is timestamped on a blockchain for immutability. And then when someone wants to access this information, again, I2P, Tor, and MeshNet channels are used to retrieve information so that there is anonymity on the publisher end of things, and there is anonymity on the consumer end of things. And finally, because of the architecture of Inkrpyt, there is data resilience. So you need to ensure that the data that's on the network is not malicious. The data that is on the network provides some value to the network, and for that, we've made a governance structure that ensures that only data that provides value to the network stays on the network. And our approach to this is that it should be journalists that are policing journalists so that there is an improved level of professionalism in journalism. So basically, it's going to be a distributed governance model led by freedom of information advocacy organizations and organizations that protect journalists, and then they are going to decide what content should be on the network or what content should not be on the network. And finally, the storage attribute of things, the compensation attribute of things, they are decided by the stakeholders in the network.
So the way we kind of think about this in terms of monetization is that what essentially the Inkrpyt protocol does is that it lowers the entry costs for media outlets and journalists to enter the market. Media outlets no longer have to invest in linkages with bureaucracies and governments to ensure that their content can be pushed out and to pay for protection, essentially. This will allow for the proliferation of new niche content that is up for grabs through syndication by larger media conglomerates, and basically we're allowing for a pipeline of content to flow that has never seen the light of day before. That allows us to be the perfect marketplace for content syndication. And as a result, we're actually the first venture to partner with the Poet protocol to allow for content attribution of all of this content that will be proliferated through our network through this novel type of ecosystem. Furthermore, because the Inkrpyt protocol itself is open source, we're not in the business of telling journalists or media what type of monetization schemes to use. We're not in the business of that. What we will do, however, is provide a plethora of options through APIs with content management services, through tokenized micropayment systems, and various other types of subscription channels so that all the players who want to engage with our protocol have avenues to create value as they see fit. So we're 5 co-founders. We come from a variety of backgrounds, including data science, computer science, investment banking, marketing, and telecommunications. We have 2 great developers who have worked with distributed projects, and then we have 3 amazing advisors. One of them is actually on the Legal World Blockchain Council, and the other 2 are serial entrepreneurs. And now, and we also have a great team of partners, including BTC Labs, Poet, obviously, the Harvard Innovation Labs, and a couple other incubators and accelerators that have helped us come this far. And now, for the very first time, Inkrpyt would like to present our very first product offering, Enlighten. And Erkan will talk a little bit about that.
Hi guys. So as the product lead at Inkrpyt, I'm very excited to be presenting Enlighten. Essentially, Enlighten is a distributed content hosting platform. The idea behind Enlighten was we were really trying to highlight the distributed content hosting solution that Inkrpyt envisions. Enlighten is an anonymized publishing platform with every aspect of it being distributed. The reason behind this is we want to remove any kind of friction points and eliminate those. And in essence, by doing so, we assure complete anonymization from all ends. And we'll be really happy to be presenting this and deploying this amongst a test network of citizen journalists around the world in the coming months. So the Enlightened system architecture takes advantage of I2P's existing network of 65,000 nodes. It uses garlic routing to ensure the highest level of security and privacy possible, and it uses I2P boat to eliminate any possibilities of timing attacks. And so essentially, Enlighten ensures the highest level of privacy and security for both the producer and the consumer. And so our developers have been working really hard to make sure that you guys will be the very first to get a sneak peek at our application. So I'll get that set up real quick. What's awesome about the application is it's available for both Android and desktop. So you can use it on your phone. You can use it on desktops as well. And the idea behind this is oftentimes journalists in the field, they want to be able to send data as quick as possible while they're at the scene. And so we want to allow for that flexibility. So we're going to send over an article real quick. Let's type up distributed 2018 is lit. You have to throw some emojis in there. There we go. So as soon as I hit publish, this article becomes encrypted and then propagated on the I2P channels, so it reaches other native clients. And we'll be showing that real quick. So there we had the phone functionality, and now I'll be showing you guys the desktop functionality as well. Typically, whenever we send an article, it takes about 10 to 15 minutes for it to propagate because we want to ensure the highest level of security. And our developers are right now working on minimizing this latency as quick as possible while maintaining that high level of security at the same time. So over here, we have our, what happened there? Oh. Over here, we have our desktop application. So basically, on the phone application, the author that we had, her name is Alice. The author for our desktop application we'll call Bob. Now, Bob is basically subscribed to Alice. And over here, we have all of the articles that Bob is receiving from Alice. One of the articles we sent this morning through that secure channel of I2P, it's the Great Firewall of China. And as you can see, right now we're unsubscribed, and we can subscribe real quick. And from here on out, we'll be receiving all articles that Alice publishes. The other functionalities that we have for the application include search. You can look at the authors. You can publish just like we published from the phone. And one of the most exciting features we have is the settings feature. With the settings, you can really toggle how secure and sensitive your information is. Because like I mentioned earlier, there's some journalists out there who don't care how long it takes for the information to get out. They want it to get out as soon as possible. And so Inkrpyt accommodates for that, essentially. And so basically, to sum it up, the Enlighten application is basically a combination of increased security that SecureDrop offers, combined with the distribution of Medium all in one.
Thanks for that, Erkan. So basically, I just want to kind of sum up the proof points here. What we have demonstrated is a complete process that combines both anonymization with distributed storage. And what that does is that it achieves comprehensive front-to-back-end censorship resistance, which ensures privacy for both content creators and content consumers. What we have in the pipeline right now is that we're nearing completion of distributed searchability, which will allow us to overcome user friction points and ensure that we will have the full suite of functionality for enterprise use cases. And now what we'll be working on in the next few weeks is actually taking the Enlighten app and deploying it with citizen journalists and freelance journalists in some of the most volatile regions in the world, including our native Pakistan, Iraq, Syria, and regions of Turkey, to establish proof points that we can get visibility on content regardless of what a malicious actor may try to do. And thank you so much, guys. Thank you for your time. Be sure to follow us on our website, follow on Twitter, look at our Telegram community, and stay up to date on our progress as we try to make the world a freer place. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
How's everyone doing? Good? Excited? It's day one, right? There's still another day. Hopefully this will be exciting and interesting for you. So I'm really excited to be here on stage and introduce what we're building here at XDAX. So XDAX is a next-generation digital asset exchange built specifically for professional investors. So I'm just going to take you through a few small elements of what this presentation today is going to be about. So I'll talk a little bit about why we're deciding to build a new digital asset exchange, talk a little bit about the users, who this is being built for, give a little bit of introduction about the technology, show the trading UX, talk a little bit about the programmable APIs for high-frequency traders, and then talk a little bit about the listing framework. And then I'll kind of cap it off by sharing some details about what we're doing in the future and how to keep in touch. So a big question a lot of people ask us, or even what we thought about initially, is like, why build another digital asset exchange? Well, we looked at the market and we found some interesting things. First off, obviously, the market is segmented into both centralized and decentralized exchanges. But in the centralized area, you have kind of a sub-segment. You have a sub-segment of exchanges that operate in a very compliant way, but they have trade-offs in terms of what they can list. And then you have other centralized exchanges that are less compliant in some other areas, but have much faster growth and have much more liquidity on their platforms. And then you have kind of the decentralized exchanges out there that kind of trade off decentralization. They trade off self-custody of assets. They allow users to hold their tokens, but then you have some performance weaknesses because of that. And we looked at this overall area, and we kind of tried to break different dimensions that we wanted to bring to the market a little bit more fuller. And we realized if you look at the yellow part there, we found that there was an opportunity to provide a centralized exchange which was more compliant, that had a little bit more competitive pricing for our customers, but also provided some new interesting areas for virality. And talk a little bit about that through this presentation. So in terms of who we designed this for, specifically we designed this for professional traders, and that includes technologists, people who understand blockchain technology, people who can understand how transaction fees could potentially affect the value of the asset that they're trading. Built it for high-frequency traders, people who want to interact with the programmable API, people who want to trade the spread. We also built it for active crypto funds, so people who are, have raised money, raised a fund, and who want to actively trade in crypto assets. Also, there are other alternative asset funds out there that are trading in existing alternative assets, and they're trying to figure out ways to get into this new asset class. So that's the type of user that this platform is built for. At a high level, most centralized exchanges look like this. At the lower level, you have a secure wallet. And in our platform solution, we provide both hot and cold storage to manage the risk that our customers are exposed to. And on top of that level rests the order matching engine. So internally in our development team, we have a number of technologists that come from the traditional finance industry, who come from experience in building technology for existing stock exchanges. So we're very confident in the performance of the underlying matching engine. And on top of that, obviously, is the trading interface, what people interact with every day. It could be the programmable API layer, or it could be the graphical user face that people are familiar with. So as we look at what the UX looks like, so we offer, right now we offer just limit orders, buy and sell, but we'll be kind of expanding that offering within the next few months. Typical of centralized exchanges, we match in terms of price time priority. In terms of how we list tokens, we operate in a little bit different way. we have two different types of markets. We have the premier market, which lists a little bit more of mature crypto assets, things like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, things that have much more history and also have a little bit more regulatory certainty. And then in the select market, we tend to list, we have much stricter requirements. We have much more stricter requirements than some of the other exchanges out there, but we tend to want to only list crypto assets that have either already gone live on a mainnet or have demonstrated really strong growth in technology development. In terms of more of the features, so we specifically offer the way to customize charts and indicators to give you an idea of where the market's going. We offer an actively refreshing depth chart, trade history that tells you where the market has traded, where you've traded. We also offer an order book with different levels of customizable visualization. You can select only buy orders, you can select only sell orders, or you can select to view both of them. And then also we have one-click buy and sell functionality where you can click on pricing it within the order book, and you could see, you could actually execute that trade immediately. And one really important point of designing a product for professional traders is the performance of the API layer. So we have intended to, we specifically are focusing on high throughput, low latency, and high reliability for the APIs. Because not all traders are going to want to interact with the trading system through a graphical interface. A lot of people are going to want to interact through algorithms. We provide a very extensive API layer to interact with that. Right now, in terms of the SDK, we have a Java SDK. But if anyone is interested in us providing SDKs in other languages, please reach out to me sometime during this conference or afterwards. So kind of another really important thing to think through is how do we list tokens? So if you remember back to the original start of this presentation, talked about our exchanges trying to be a little bit more of a regulator-friendly and try to be a decentralized exchange with a very similar level of compliance as to some of the other centralized exchanges, but with a more preferential pricing for our customers. And part of being a more compliant token exchange is making sure that the listing process, the listing framework is robust. And right now how that goes is if anyone is interested in listing on the platform over time, we have a very lengthy questionnaire that goes through a bunch of different due diligence points, kind of understanding the background of the team, understanding the use and the need to use a token, kind of better understanding the team's knowledge in blockchain and the application of the blockchain and the feasibility of development. And after we get answers back to that, we'll do an initial review internally to better understand whether or not we think this is a feasible project, whether or not we think it's something that professional traders will actually find value in trading. And after that, we'll go through a compliance review. We'll request from the token, through the token company or through the token organization to provide more legal due diligence information. And once we have all that information, the next thing that we'll do is go through a final review where we'll go through all this information. So kind of just keeping it short and sweet, just as a follow-up where we're heading next, over the next few months, we'll be releasing a lot of really exciting future announcements. Right now, we're in a stage where it's early release, so we've only listed a few tokens. We're intentionally limiting a lot of trading so that we have about a few months to kind of go through this process. So for the time being, we are very excited for anyone to reach out to us and tell us any requirements on APIs or anything else that is on your mind. I personally, I'll be here over the next few days in and out of meetings, but if you bump into me, feel free to reach out and chat. Happy to talk more. Thanks for your time.
Good afternoon. How are you guys? We need 5 minutes of your undivided attention for a very exciting announcement. My name is Trisha Martinez, and I am the founder and CEO of Walla and director of the Dalla Foundation.
My name is Lisa Nestor, and I am the director of partnerships at stellar.org.
Great, so some background on Dalla. Dalla is the first open source crypto asset designed for emerging market consumers. But it's more than just a cryptocurrency. Dalla is a decentralized financial system enabling consumers to earn, save, borrow, and transact. So some information on where we're at. 2 months ago, we launched the Dalla crypto asset in South Africa, Zimbabwe, and Uganda. Today, what consumers can do, send Dalla anywhere instantly for free. They can spend Dalla on electricity, airtime, data. They can pay for their utility bills. They can buy the Dalla asset on-chain, they can do it through the mobile app, and they can do it in person with merchants. But since our launch, we've been growing exponentially. We already have over 100,000 consumers transacting with the Dalla cryptocurrency. Now, that's a pretty big deal for crypto. I think you guys should get a little excited about that. And to date, we've already processed over 2.5 million Dalla crypto transactions. But this is just the beginning for us. Dalla is the first meta cryptocurrency that is blockchain agnostic. It runs on any blockchain depending on the use case. So essentially, we have commoditized blockchain technology. By bringing the best blockchains together, we believe that we can deliver the best financial system to consumers. Now, through this multi-chain strategy, Dalla will take advantage of the best blockchains to drive financial inclusion and bring a decentralized financial system to the masses. And it gives me great pleasure to announce that Dalla will be working in partnership with Stellar to use the Stellar blockchain for our biggest use case, payments.
Yeah, we are so excited to have Dalla join the Stellar ecosystem. We think they're going to be a huge leader, particularly in South Africa, where they're launching this product, and are going to create a lot of opportunities for other users of the Stellar network, both across Africa and globally. So we're super excited to invite Trisha and her team, and to see the Dalla project launching in the Stellar ecosystem.
Awesome. So through a multi-chain strategy with Stellar, decentralized protocols that we're building out, a growing ecosystem, and a consumer-first approach, we believe that Dalla will become the preferred decentralized financial system for emerging markets. Now, if anyone has questions or wants to talk more, please feel free to reach out to me, join our Telegram, or just come and chat and hear about the cool things we're doing in emerging markets. Thank you.